I always believed betrayal came from strangers, not from the people who raised you. Even after all the years of emotional distance, arguments, and cold silences, I still thought my parents would never cross certain lines. That illusion shattered the night I came home from work, still wearing my office badge and carrying the tired weight of a 12-hour day on my shoulders. It was a normal Tuesday in Denver, or at least it was supposed to be. I remember driving up the quiet street lined with maple trees and parking my silver SUV in the driveway of my parents' large white house, the one with peeling blue shutters and a porch swing that had never once been used for anything other than decoration. The sun had already slipped behind the rooftops, leaving a faint glow behind the Rockies. I stepped out of my car and pulled my blazer tighter around myself, thinking only about a shower and maybe warming up leftovers. I had been working late at my downtown office, trying to finalize a contract for a new client from New York. My digital marketing company had grown more than I ever expected. Last year, a valuation report estimated it at around $3 million. I was proud of that. I thought my parents were proud too. They told me they were. They told everyone they were. Looking back, that should have been the first sign. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The house smelled like roasted chicken and garlic, a familiar scent from childhood dinners. I kicked off my heels near the hallway, rubbing my sore feet and sighing with the heaviness of the day. My purse slid off my shoulder and onto the chair by the wall. I was just about to call out, "I'm home," like I always did, but then I heard something that made me freeze where I stood. My name. Not shouted, not spoken casually. Whispered. It came from the kitchen. The door was half closed, and light spilled from the gap like a thin, gold ribbon across the floor. I took a step toward it, then stopped when an uneasy feeling crawled up my spine. Something in the tone didn't feel right. Something was off. My heart thumped against my ribs as I leaned closer. And then I heard my mother's voice, low and cold, in a tone I had never heard from her before. Tonight, her entire $3 million business will come to us, and she will be gone from this world. My breath vanished. For a moment, my mind refused to accept what my ears heard. I stood there, gripping the wall, feeling the ground tilt beneath me. Maybe I misheard. Maybe she meant someone else. Maybe I walked into a nightmare without knowing it. But then my father answered, and the truth became impossible to deny. "It has to look like she did it herself," he said, with a calmness that twisted my stomach. "The insurance will pay out. The lawyer said everything will move to us without any trouble. Once she is dead, we get the business, the accounts, the house. All of it." I pressed a hand to my mouth to stop the sound that rose in my throat. My own parents. Planning my death like they were discussing groceries. And worse, it wasn't an argument. It wasn't a moment of anger. It was organized, calculated, agreed upon. My mother answered him without even a hint of hesitation. "She will sleep like a baby. We will do it after midnight. No one will know." Something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in a quiet, devastating way that felt like a glass heart shattering from the inside. My legs almost gave out. I backed away from the kitchen door slowly, afraid the floor would creak. When I reached the dark hallway, I slid down the wall and sat on the cold wooden floor, trying to breathe while my world fell apart. Memories rushed through my mind like someone flipping through a broken photo album. Times they had borrowed money from me and never paid it back. The times they reminded me I owed them for raising me. The times they pressured me to cover bills, repairs, and vacations. I always told myself that family helps each other. I thought giving was normal. I thought love meant supporting them. But now I saw it clearly. To them, I had become nothing but a wallet with a pulse. And they were ready to get rid of the pulse. My heart raced as I stared at the front door. A part of me wanted to run, to get in my car, and drive until the Rocky Mountains disappeared behind me. But another part knew that running would only delay the nightmare. They already wanted me gone. If I vanished tonight, they would create a story, tell the police I had mental health issues, and frame it however they needed. They would still chase my business, my accounts, everything I built with my own hands. I wiped my face with trembling fingers and forced myself to think. I could run and live in fear forever, or I could stay and expose them for what they truly were. When I finally stood up, my knees shaking, the choice was already made. I didn't know exactly how I would do it yet, but I knew one thing. I would not die in that house. I would make sure the truth came out, and I would make sure the world saw exactly what my parents had planned. I walked upstairs quietly, each step measured, each breath deliberate. My room felt smaller than I remembered, but the safety of the decision I had made gave me strength. I closed the door behind me and sat on the edge of my bed, staring into the darkness. I needed a plan, and I needed it fast. I didn't know then how far the night would go, or how close death would come. I only knew that my life had changed forever the moment I heard those words through the kitchen door. And nothing about my world would ever be the same again. I never imagined I would have to outsmart my own parents in the house where I learned to walk, where I practiced spelling tests, where I once felt safe. But as I stood in that hallway, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the clinking of silverware from the kitchen, reality settled over me like a cold blanket. They wanted me gone. They weren't confused, angry, or desperate. They were calm, prepared, ready to take every dollar of my $3 million company and erase me in the same breath. My watch read 7:04 p.m. They thought I wasn't home yet. And that gave me one small advantage. 1 hour. Maybe less. I inhaled deeply, stepped back to the front door, opened it loudly, and shut it with a thud to announce my arrival. I forced my voice to sound steady when I called out, "Mom, Dad, I'm home." Instantly, the kitchen sounds shifted. I heard footsteps and the familiar rustle of my mother's apron. She appeared in the doorway, wearing her soft smile, the one she used for neighbors and church ladies. It chilled me now, knowing what she had said minutes earlier. "You're just in time for dinner, sweetheart." Her voice was warm, controlled, sweet enough to rot my teeth. My father followed her out, wiping his hands on a towel. He slapped my shoulder lightly. "Long day at the office, kiddo?" I wondered if he rehearsed that line, if he practiced sounding like a loving father before planning his daughter's final night. I swallowed the bitterness rising in my throat and answered as casually as I could manage. "The usual. I'm going to wash my face and change." My mother nodded and turned back toward the stove as if nothing in the world could be wrong. As if she hadn't agreed to kill me tonight. When I reached the top of the stairs, my legs almost buckled. My childhood room looked the same as it always had. Faded band posters, a bookshelf filled with paperbacks, and the small desk where I had outlined my first business plan years ago. The air smelled faintly of the lavender candle I used to burn during late-night studying. I shut the door, leaned my back against it, and let my mask slip off completely. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone. There was only one person I trusted enough to call. Ava Morgan. She had worked for me for 3 years, but had stood by me through things that went far beyond business. She picked up on the second ring. "What's going on?" she asked immediately. "You sound different." "Ava," I whispered, sinking onto the edge of my bed. "I don't have time to explain everything, but I need you to do something for me. Right now." Her voice softened. "Tell me." "I need a secure live stream link," I said, lowering my voice even further. "Private at first, but with the option to make it public instantly. Back it up to all our cloud storage here in America and the European servers, too. And record everything." There was a short pause. Ava wasn't someone who panicked or asked unnecessary questions. "Give me 30 minutes, she said. "I'll send the link." "Are you safe?" I looked at the door as though it might burst open. "Not yet. Stay near your phone." After ending the call, I crossed into the bathroom and started searching through the cabinet. I knew my mother kept old sleeping pills somewhere. She had always claimed she needed them during stressful times, though I suspected she simply liked the control of deciding when she wanted to shut the world out. My fingers brushed against an orange bottle tucked behind a can of hairspray. When I pulled it out, my heart thumped harder. I didn't want to kill her. I didn't want to hurt her. Even after hearing her plan for my death, I couldn't bring myself to become what she was willing to be. But I needed her unconscious. I needed her out of the way. I needed the truth to unfold without blood on my hands. Next, I pulled out the hidden camera I had bought months earlier. It looked like a simple digital clock. I had intended to set it up after a break-in near the neighborhood, but life got in the way. Now, holding it felt like holding the key to my survival. My hands steadied just enough to connect the camera to the house Wi-Fi. When the small blue light blinked on, I felt a small surge of hope. Ava's message arrived a moment later. Stream link ready. Auto backup on. It's armed and live. I linked the camera to the stream and placed it high on my shelf facing the bed. Anyone entering the room would have no idea they were being watched. The lamp beside the bed cast a soft glow that would make the visuals clear. Everything was set, but the hardest part still waited downstairs. I forced my expression back into something close to normal and walked down the stairs. My mother was stirring gravy on the stove. My father leaned over his phone like he was checking stock prices, probably imagining the fortune he'd soon inherit. I filled 2 glasses with water. My voice didn't tremble when I said, "Mom, you look tired. Do you want something to help you sleep tonight?" She glanced at me. "You know I get headaches when I'm stressed." "I found your old pills in my bathroom," I said gently. "The doctor gave them to you years ago. You always said they worked fast." Her expression softened, exactly the way it used to when she wanted to remind herself that I wasn't suspicious of anything. "Bring them then. Maybe I'll finally get a good night's sleep." When she turned her back to check the oven, I slipped 2 pills into her glass. My father didn't notice. She drank half the water in one swallow. Dinner felt like sitting beside 2 strangers wearing masks of my parents. My hands trembled under the table, but they never looked closely enough to see. By 9:30, my mother could barely keep her eyes open. "I think I'll lie down for a bit," she murmured. "I'll help you," I said quickly. My father hummed as he locked the back door, unaware of anything. I guided my mother upstairs, straight into my bedroom. She didn't even question it. By the time I laid her on the bed, she was half asleep, her breathing slow and heavy. I arranged the blanket around her the way I slept and pushed her hair over the pillow. She looked like me. I checked the camera. The stream was running. Then I turned off the main light, left the bedside lamp glowing faintly, and slipped into the closet with my phone in my hand. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. Tonight I thought either I expose them or I don't survive at all. Time lost its shape the moment I closed myself inside that dark closet with only my phone screen lighting my face. I don't remember breathing. I don't remember blinking. I only remember the soft hum of the live stream and the sight of my own bedroom glowing faintly under the lamp. The bed looked exactly the way I had arranged it. My mother tucked under the blankets with her hair covering part of her face, just enough to resemble me in the dim light. My phone vibrated once. A message from Ava popped up on the screen. "Stream is working. I'm watching. Do you want me to share the link if something happens?" I typed back quickly, my fingers trembling. "Yes. If anything at all happens, share it with everyone. Clients. Partners. Everyone on every list. Do not stop." I lowered the volume button as slowly as I could so the faint clicks wouldn't echo in the closet. My heart beat so loudly, I was afraid the walls themselves could hear it. Outside, the house fell into a deep silence. No television murmuring in the living room. No footsteps creaking along the hallway. Even the wind outside felt like it had paused. It was as though the house itself was holding its breath. Then, at exactly midnight, the quiet broke. The stairs creaked. Slowly. One step at a time. My pulse hammered against my ribs as I watched the live feed. The doorknob turned. The bedroom door opened an inch, then another, until the shape of my father slipped into the room. He was just a shadow at first, tall and silent, outlined by the dim glow of the bedside lamp. But then he stepped closer, and the details of him sharpened enough to make my stomach twist. He was holding a pillow from the guest room, gripping the corners, knuckles pale. He moved toward the bed with steps that were too calm, too practiced, like he had rehearsed this moment in his mind 1,000 times. I could see his expression clearly now, no fear, no hesitation, no guilt, only cold intention. He stood over the bed for several seconds, staring down at the figure he thought was his daughter. "Me." My mother breathed softly, just as I did when I slept. He leaned closer. "This will all be over soon," he whispered. "Those words will never leave me." He raised the pillow and pressed it firmly over her face. My throat tightened. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the closet door open and run to her. But I forced myself to stay still, to watch for a moment longer, just long enough to make everything undeniable. The world needed to see this. Not just me. Not just Ava. The world. My phone buzzed again. A message from Ava appeared, fast and frantic. Oh my God. I'm sharing this now. And then I saw them. The notifications. The viewer count that started at 3, then 20, then 70, then hundreds, climbing with every passing second. People from our email lists. People from our client base. People connected to our European partners. All joining. All are witnessing the truth unfold in real time. That was my moment. I pushed the closet door open. The faint click echoed like thunder in my ears. I stepped into the room, and my voice broke free before I could control it. "Stop. Stop. That is your wife. That is my mother." He jerked so violently that the pillow slipped from his hands and fell to the floor. My mother inhaled sharply, gasping for air, scrambling in confusion as she woke. Her eyes darted around the room, terrified. My father spun toward me. His face went pale white, like he had seen something supernatural. You are supposed to be in bed," he whispered. "I am," I said, raising my phone in the air. "And so is the rest of the world." His gaze followed my hand toward the shelf. He finally noticed the small camera with its faint blinking light. His expression twisted from shock to rage. "That is nothing but a recording," he snapped, his voice cracking. He lunged toward the camera, ripped it from its place, and slammed it onto the floor. The plastic shattered. He stomped on it until the pieces cracked under his heel. "No one will see this," he shouted. "No one." But my phone was still streaming, still recording, still sending everything to servers he didn't know existed. The comments were already flooding in. "Call the police. Oh my God, is this real? Someone do something." I backed toward the door, my breath trembling. "They saw you," I said. "They heard everything. You tried to kill your own child for money." My mother, who was now sitting up, dazed and gasping, clutched her chest. "You said it would be painless," she choked out. "You told me we would do it together." My father froze. He hadn't expected her to speak. He hadn't expected her to regain consciousness. In that instant, I saw the truth settle into him. He had just exposed himself completely. I didn't wait for him to recover. My survival instincts took over. I turned and ran out of the room, my footsteps pounding down the hallway as I heard him scream my name behind me. I flew down the stairs, so fast, I nearly slipped. I grabbed my car keys from the entry table and yanked the front door open so hard it hit the wall. The cold night air slapped my face, but it also brought clarity, freedom, oxygen, life. At that exact moment, sirens began to wail in the distance. Fast. Getting closer. My phone buzzed nonstop in my hand. Among dozens of notifications, one message stood out, from a name I didn't know. "Someone is watching from hundreds of miles away. We saw everything. We called the police. They're on their way." Red and blue lights approached, flashing across the quiet street and turning the night into a harsh, glowing scene. I ran toward the first police car pulling into the driveway. My chest heaved, my knees shook, but my voice finally rose with a strength I thought I had lost. "They tried to kill me," I said. And the whole world saw it. The officers didn't hesitate. They moved past me and rushed into the house. The rest of the night would change everything, but in that moment, standing under flashing lights, holding my phone, I finally felt safe for the first time in years. The hours that followed felt unreal, like I had stepped outside my own life and was watching it from somewhere far above. The flashing red and blue lights painted the front lawn in sharp, shifting colors as officers moved quickly through the house. One officer stayed beside me, asking rapid questions while I tried to steady my breathing. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, not from cold, but from the crash of everything that had happened. I kept my phone clutched tightly, The live stream still open, comments from strangers pouring in nonstop. Some were shocked, some angry, some begging me to stay safe, but all of them were witnesses. When the officer asked what had happened, I held up the screen and let him see for himself. "This is my company account," I said, my voice rough from hours of adrenaline. Thousands of people saw what happened in real time. The recordings were backed up in multiple places. You can pull everything you need from the cloud servers. America, Europe, everywhere. It's all there. The officer scrolled through the stream, his eyebrows rising at the flood of comments, the timestamps, the viewer count that climbed into the thousands. He exhaled slowly. "That's a lot of witnesses," he said. Inside the house, I heard my mother crying. Not gentle crying, but loud, panicked sobs. My father, on the other hand, kept shouting the same thing over and over. "It's all a misunderstanding. This is not what it looks like." But it was exactly what it looked like. And the world had already seen it. By the time they came out of the house, the sky was turning pale gray with early morning light. My mother was wrapped in an officer's blanket, shivering, her face white as chalk. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her, lost inside fabric that wasn't hers, shaking as though the truth had finally hit her harder than the betrayal ever hit me. My father wasn't crying. He wasn't shaking. He wasn't even ashamed. His jaw was clenched, his face hard and cold, his hands cuffed behind his back. When the officers guided him toward the police car, he turned his head and glared at me with a hatred so sharp it could have cut stone. "You did this to us," he hissed. For the first time in my life, his blame didn't sink into my skin like a wound. I didn't bow my head or swallow guilt like poison. I just met his eyes and answered with the truth he refused to accept. "No," I said quietly. "You did this to yourself." They placed him in the back of the patrol car. The door shut with a final, echoing thud. The next few days passed in a haze of statements, detective interviews, victim advocates, and evidence briefings. The video spread faster than I could comprehend, first among my clients, then on social media, then on news channels. I watched my own bedroom displayed on screens in places I had never imagined: coffee shops, airport TVs, digital news tickers. Reporters reached out. Talk shows reached out. Some people called me brave. Some called me reckless. Some said they couldn't believe I had survived. I didn't feel any of those things. I mostly felt tired, exhausted in a way sleep couldn't fix. The charges came quickly. Attempted murder of my father. Conspiracy for both of them. Detectives found messages on their phones, saved notes about my life insurance policy, and even drafted instructions about how they planned to handle my business ownership after my accidental death. Seeing all of that documented in cold text made my stomach twist. They had planned this long before that night. The words they exchanged in the kitchen weren't new. They were simply the final step. While the house was sealed, I packed what little belonged to me and moved into a small apartment in downtown Denver. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I didn't hear footsteps at night. I didn't hear whispers through thin walls. I didn't feel eyes watching me while I slept. After a few months, I moved again, this time to a brick townhouse with big windows overlooking a quiet street. I bought new furniture, chose warm colors, and brought in plants I actually remembered to water. It became the first place in my life where I felt safe enough to breathe deeply. At my office, the loyalty from my team and clients surprised me. Instead of pulling away, they rallied around me. Ava practically glued herself to my side during the hardest parts. I updated every legal document I had: ownership papers, transfer rules, emergency policies, and insurance terms. No one would ever have access to my accounts again. No one would ever stand between me and my company's future. Months passed, then a year. When the trial finally happened, I sat in a courtroom filled with people who had watched the truth unfold on their screens. I kept my hands folded in my lap and listened as the judge read the verdict. Guilty. Both of them. My mother cried when she heard the sentence. My father didn't flinch. His eyes stayed locked on me, the same cold stare he had given me on the night of the arrest. But this time, his stare didn't shake me. It didn't break me. It didn't mean anything. You can't be wounded by someone who no longer has power over you. When the gavel struck, a strange combination of sadness and calm washed through me. The girl inside me, the daughter who once wanted her parents' approval, felt something quietly slip away. But the woman I had become felt stronger than ever. My company didn't crumble. It grew. We opened a small office in New York. New clients came from America and Europe. People trusted me more, not less. They respected my transparency, my resilience, my refusal to hide what had happened. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear the creak of those stairs in my memories. The weight of that pillow. The sound of my father's whisper. But those moments don't own me anymore. They're just reminders of a line I'll never allow anyone to cross again. People often tell me, family is everything. But family, to me, is something else entirely. It's Ava's voice saying, "I'm here." It's the strangers who called the police from hundreds of miles away. It's the clients who messaged, "We believe you," while my own parents plotted my end. This is my story. I survived. My business is still mine. My life is truly mine. And the people who tried to steal everything from me now watch the sunrise through metal bars.